Welcome and thank you for joining us. In today's episode, two authors who are passionate educators and youth development experts will be discussing their books and very critical issues we hardly like to openly talk about. Issues that affect our young people and consequently the future of Nigeria. We'll also be giving you a peek into what happened when a talented group of Nigerian children gathered to test their wits and oratory skills at a debate program. Please don't go away. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back. Ifeoma Theodore Jr. is a leading voice in the effort to instill values in adolescents, particularly the girl child. She is the author of two important books, Trapped in Oblivion and My Daughters and I. Praise Fowowe is regarded as one of the foremost sexuality educators in Nigeria and the founder of Center for Sexuality Education and Family Life. He is the author of an essential book for kids and parents titled Super Kids and the most complete sexuality education kit in Nigeria. These two incredible Nigerians joined us to discuss their books and invariably subjects we hardly ever delve into with children and young adults in Nigeria. Enjoy it. Thank you for joining us on the Channels Book Club.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Let me start with you, Ifeoma. Can you just give us a general introduction of what My Daughters and I is all about for viewers who have not seen or read the book?
My Daughters and I is a collection of essays for the girl child. It deals with issues like, it prepares like a preparatory guide for, on how to approach puberty and deal with it. Most girls right now, their parents don't educate them or prepare them for such. And when they do end up getting into puberty, they end up experiencing it with confusion and all that. So what I've tried to do basically is to guide them through it. So the book is for parents and adolescents, of course, young adults, because when it comes to issues like sex and boys, you can't just say, once you're through adolescence, you're good to go. So it's basically for parents, adolescents and young adults. It talks about, of course, your puberty, infections, boys, sex, communication between mothers and daughters. So that's basically what My Daughters and I is all about.
Tell us about Super Kids for viewers out there. I've read it, like I said. It's fantastic. But tell viewers out there, what's Super Kids about?
Most parents are clueless about what to teach the children about sex. As a matter of fact, many people don't know the age at which they should start teaching the kids about sexuality education. Unfortunately, the age of sexual initiation in Nigeria, it's age 6 right now. A lot of 6-year-olds are sexually active across the country. I've been to 9 states. So I started out by working on a particular kit that parents can use to teach the children. Then I realized that a lot of parents didn't have time to sit with the children to teach them. So I decided to write something that the children can read by themselves, which comes with songs that they can use to teach themselves about their body parts, what to know, how to identify a predator, putting in a story format. It's a book that explains everything the child needs to know, the differences between private parts and public parts, what do you do to the public parts, private parts, the 4 golden rules of the body and everything. That's what you have in Super Kids.
Now, we're going to go into specifics a bit later, but let's talk generally now. You've written for teenagers, you've written for much younger kids. But let's take the subjects generally. Sex education. When should it start? It's a major problem in Nigeria. Yes. The topics you both addressed in your books. We don't like talking about these things. Many homes don't talk about these things. That was what was running through my mind when I was reading your books. When should parents and families start talking about sex, even schools? When should the subject start?
Sex education is something no one wants to talk about. We only feel comfortable talking about it among ourselves over coffee and drinks and parlor talk. Then once we get back home, we just zip it up. I believe that once your child becomes an adolescent, the question is, when is a child an adolescent? That's like talking about from 10 years. But recently, research has shown that kids know about it earlier than that age. During our own time, it was 18. Once you're 18, getting to the university, then your parents call you and tell you, okay, let's have that talk and all that. Now we're saying 10. Now, like he says, they're saying it has to be younger. And why is that? Everything around them reminds them of sex. Just the common advert with toothpaste is telling you, for you to attract the opposite sex, you should use this particular brand. And then some parents will tell you, oh no, all my child does is watch Disney and cartoons. Mickey Mouse has a girlfriend, Minnie Mouse, and to the best of their knowledge as kids, they know what it means that he likes her. So I think the earlier, the better. The earlier, the better.
I think he has a say. He has a say on that. Your book is for 3 to 10.
Yeah. Sexual education actually started at age 2. I mean, I have 2 kids. I started teaching my son when he was 2. Because the predators are everywhere. The strength of the predator against a child is the ignorance of a child, because the predator knows that you will never teach your child anything about sex. Okay, so if you don't start early, your child will be exposed. And how you will know? Are there songs that your child can sing currently that you never taught your child? If there are songs your child is singing right now that you never taught him, the question you should worry about as a parent is, what are the other information is acquired that you are clueless about? So the moment your child can talk, can understand instructions, then there are things to teach. The problem parents have is when they mention sexual education, they think it's all about intercourse. No, it's about the total well-being of a child. It's about a child's ability to identify his body parts, to say, these are my private parts, these are my public parts, these are parts that nobody should touch. And there is what we call age-appropriate sexual education. As a matter of fact, there's what to teach from 18 months to 18 years.
Age-appropriate. Okay. Ifeoma, I'm going to read from your book. You wrote here, I'm talking about the sexual orientation of some individuals, the gays and the lesbians. Listen, the thought of talking about it might seem unpleasant to you, but it is an issue that has to be talked about to your daughters. And when I read this, I asked myself, and I said I was going to ask you, should there or should there not be boundaries to the sexual issues discussed with young people? Here you wrote about the need to talk about homosexuality even to young girls. So what do you think?
No boundaries at all. None at all. Why is this? We live, most parents live in the make-believe life. They're in denial. You don't engage them in such discussions and say, okay, let me just talk to them. Don't talk to boys. If you talk to boys, you get pregnant, and that's where the discussion starts and it ends. There are other things apart from talking to boys or engaging. You have, like you just read out, people with different sexual orientation. I think they should sit down and talk to them about it. 1 or 2 of them have probably heard about it. The TV programs they watch, they're on blogs, social networking, they know about it. The question now is, are you going to engage them on these talks? If you don't want to, that's okay and fine, but it's not going to stop them from hearing and debating about it. I mean, everyone knows now that it's something, what the bill that has been passed, and then you still won't sit down and talk to your child that such is happening, such bill has been passed. I'm not telling you, okay, this is the stand you should take, but you must make them aware of it. You have to discuss it.
So no boundaries.
No boundaries.
Praise. I saw in your book, you even explained to kids here public parts, private parts, and you mentioned the names of the private parts. We don't even mention those words in Nigeria. It's like when you mention the specific names of private parts, everywhere goes hush. Well, you are advocating here that even kids as young as 3, 4, 5 should be taught.
We live in an hypocritical world where we don't love realities. I'll tell you a story. A mother said to me after I had a presentation that when she was 5, her uncle began to molest her. But she couldn't pronounce the private part of a boy, of a man, penis. So she ran to her mother to say, uncle was putting nail in my bum bum, and her mother laughed about it. And for 9 years, her uncle messed her up. If she had mentioned the proper names, that's why when parents say, oh, it's wee, it's pipi, it's kokoro, jongo jongo, and all those I just laugh. A child can even lose a case in the law court by its inability to properly mention the private part of the body. The law doesn't recognize kokoro. You get what I'm saying? So it's important. And that's why a lot of children are able to report accurately when they are being interfaced with by predators and pedophiles, and they're everywhere. So it's important for your child to know. I mean, it deserves to know. It has no other name, no spiritual name, no biological name. It's an English word, and you need to be able to pronounce it properly for your child.
Now, even at the during the teenage years, my observation is Nigerian teenagers don't even use those expressions. They don't use those terms publicly. They can do that when they are with their friends and so on, but not with their parents. Those words don't come up in conversations at home, even amongst teenagers and parents.
And I think it's very wrong, because those words are biological words. And I will say it's penis, it's there. But there are other words you can now use in identifying it. That is wrong. The vagina, it's there. There's nothing wrong saying it. But there are other words you can use in expressing it that is wrong. So I think, like you said, you should be able to make them feel comfortable with certain things. If you feel, oh, I can talk to her or him about this, and you're uncomfortable about it, they get to be uncomfortable about it too. And it's that norm that we're trying to stop. It can apply now. Probably during our time or generations, but not now. If you don't do what you're supposed to do as a parent, don't worry. There are other ways for that child to learn. So what's better, for you to teach your child or for those other ways to do that?
What are the consequences of not paying attention to sexual education amongst young people, whether they are under 10 or they are teenagers in Nigeria? Let's put it in proper perspective. What are we talking about here?
There are consequences already. Our world, the way it's classified right now, is a sexualized world. What it means is that I can tell you, I work on the field. Last year I was in 9 states of the Federation. Sadly, I interfaced with more 6-year-olds who were sexually active than even adults. Now, 6-year-olds. Now, and you think they don't know, an 8-year-old in Port Harcourt told me that in the last 3 months he had raped 3 girls. I thought he didn't understand what rape meant. But he told me it was to forcefully have sex with a girl. So, because of our silence, our culture of silence, don't talk about this, there are concepts like sexting, which happens among preteens in Nigeria, ages 8 to 12. You buy them mobile phones, they snap their private part, they exchange it. You have concepts like, they don't even call it oral sex, because as in teenage years, they talk in codes. So, for example, there are schools where oral sex is a major issue, major problem. Schools are not talking about it, but it's there. But you don't see the children even talk about it. They don't call it oral sex. You hear a boy says to a girl, give and it shall be given unto you. The boy responds, good measure, pressed down, shaking together, running over. You think they're quoting Bible. No, it's oral sex they're talking about. A boy says Manchester, you think it's a football club? Female breast. They're talking quotes. So if we don't open up and talk about these things, they will learn it. And the hypocrisy I see around is, they say, oh, in media, don't mention some specific names. Call it genital, don't mention penis. But the songs the children dance to is filled with lewd lyrical content, and nothing is being done. So they are learning about sexuality from the videos they see. And sadly, there are cartoons today that has got same sex, that has got pornography, that has got all kinds of things, and children are watching all these things. So it's never before in the history have we been bombarded. Every teenager seems to have pornography on their mobile phones. We need to talk about these things, because every time you don't talk about sexuality education, you empower the predator. In fact, you collaborate with the predator to molest your child, and you collaborate with the world to teach. If you don't teach it, the TV will teach.
There's this parent, I met her during one of my book signings, and she said, oh, my child is 10 years. Oh, it says sex. There's this chapter on sex, boys. And I was just looking at her. And I told her, she listens to music. She said, oh, who's her favorite artist? And she mentioned. And I said, Do you listen? Oh, she loves it. That artist. He's good. Keeps me and my husband in the mood. I'm like, good. Those same lyrics that you listen to is the same that she listens to. And that music that keeps you in the mood will also keep her in the mood. I give talks in schools. It's not like you listen and they say this is for, if you go for parties, you notice there's no difference anymore. The song you play for the adults, that is what you play for. So why are we in denial here? I go to schools, to give talks. And you need to see the questions these kids ask me. Of course, when they're all together, I tell them to write the questions down because they won't be so open if you tell them stand up. They don't want any other person knowing what they know. So they write these questions down and they pass it to me. And if I should meet any of their parents and say, do you know this is something from a child? First one will probably start, of course, cursing and doing all the signs and all that. And they ask questions that are scary. And like you said, slangs. Someone says, I like grinding with my boyfriend when we dance. That's music. It keeps them in the mood. And they use, in fact, saying penis is even like, oh, that's old, old, for oldies. They have words that are, you don't even want to begin to think about it. So, do they indulge? Yes, they indulge.
It's been fun having you here.
Thank you.
Good to have you here again.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the channel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A report on that.